Hey guys, Pete Ramsey on behalf of Kelley McKay. Welcome back to the podcast. Kelley, how you been? It's been a while.
Doing well, Pete. How are you doing? Good to
And
be back.
I know, right? We took a little break. Mostly my fault. You know, mom was in the hospital and I had to leave town and go take care of her. But Kelley was there ready, but he was supporting me. No, go take care of family. And so we're now catching up. Guys, we apologize. I apologize. And let's see if we can get back in the saddle and talk some HVAC business. But yeah,
Yeah.
hey, let me interject because I know Kelley won't even bring that up, even though he's got it all over his background. Thank you for my autographed copy of the HVAC Millionaire.
Uh,
This, guys, I started plumbing through this. It's going to be a good one. I don't want to go into it quite yet because I don't know enough. But when I read it, I want to pick your brain on some of this stuff. But just based on what I flipped through on the contents and the 25, I guess, chapters or yeah, chapters.
yeah.
I think this is going to be awesome. So I'm excited about that. If you guys haven't gotten to get yours on Amazon, he's got his. But anyway, we're not here to sell. But I did want to
Well,
give a little.
yeah, I'd love to hear your take on some of those chapters because I know your background and your knowledge and
Absolutely.
so I'd love to hear your thoughts and maybe you've probably got some stories and stuff on some of those chapters as well. So
Oh,
yeah,
we've got some stories. Don't we have stories?
definitely have some stories.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, we talked, before coming into this episode, and Pete had a really good conversation that we might talk about, which is what do you do when you're trying to make this, like your business is growing and you're trying to make this transition to where it's not everything is being filtered through you all the time, including customers. And you always have those few customers who just refuse to talk to anybody else. They always want to talk to you. And how do you go about making this transition, especially if some of your early promotional materials have your cell phone attached to them?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I don't know if I'm the only one who's done that. Surely not, but that's how it went for me. There was a lot of early customers for the first several years of business who had my personal cell phone because that was the business number initially. So how do you go about this transition when you have those customers that, yeah,
So let me open it up. I have a mastermind group of heating and air conditioning business owners, and there's about a dozen guys in there. They're all guys, and one of them has a company, and I won't say who it is and where it is because I don't have his
yeah,
permission. But he posted in the group just the other day, and he was wanting to know how to handle it, and it was exactly what you just opened up. But this guy, I think he's got at least a dozen employees. Okay, so he's grown up. He's a really smart guy, and he's a really good guy. And yeah, he used to take care of these customers personally. So he posted a group, and I'm going to read this in a way that it nobody knows who it is. He says, "I have a customer that is very rude and refuses to answer the questions the office asks when he calls. Only wants to speak to me. Talks as if everyone owes him the world." Then he shares his screen grab of the text from this guy. And it's like, "Hi, I'm just going to say Bob. Hi, Bob. This is
yeah,
John. Having a major issue with unit blank, AC unit. Need you to call me back ASAP. Thank you." Well, he doesn't call it back. That's what he's got office people for. And he's like, "Bob, you there? Can you please call me?" And this was it was about 4 hours later. And finally says, "Bob, look, if you're ignoring my calls, just want to have a quick chat." No, he says, "Why are you ignoring my calls? Just want to have a quick chat. Or if you want me to just piss off, please say so. And I don't want to keep chasing after you." So he gets a little smart alecky. And he says, just to clarify, this is Bob. It's not Bob. He says, just to clarify, this he just says to clarify, talking about the major problem, major issue is never major. He just wants free service every time, which reminds me of what you were saying. And he says, because we replaced the coil and condenser, he thinks he deserves service for the next several years free. That's what he threw out to the group. Your reaction. Your reaction. I mean, if there's not enough information there, that's fine too. But go ahead.
Oh no, I think I understand because I've been put in that situation on multiple occasions, and sometimes and I guess the context that we might be missing is how many conversations have been had previously to him cutting him off and deciding that, you know what I mean? We don't know any of that.
Yeah.
So if this is the first time and it's out of the blue and all of a sudden he's not calling the guy personally anymore and he's trying to let the office deal with that, then it might warrant a phone call just to let him know, one call that says, hey, Bob or John or whoever the guy's name is, I'm incredibly busy. It has nothing to do. I probably wouldn't start it like that. I'd say, John, I appreciate you reaching out to me. The office is who schedules all of the phone calls that come in. So they can answer any questions. If they can't answer a question, they'll get with me and I'll get with them and they'll get back with you. Otherwise, I just don't have time during my day to take these calls. I'm sorry, I apologize. And I love to do business with you, but I'm trying to run a business and I just cannot, I've got 10, 12, 15, 20 employees that I'm managing. And it's nothing personal. We'd love to continue to take care of this for you, but you're going to have to go through the office for any scheduling thing, anything scheduling. I can't schedule anything because if I do, I throw a cog in the schedule, I mess everything up, and then everyone's mad at me. So that's why one person has to own the schedule, and that happens to be Jackie or Sherry or
Absolutely.
Bob or Tom, and you need to call them and they can get you on the schedule. So, but after that, no more. I'm not going to explain this to you over and over again. I'd rather not do work for you if this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah, we call that the octopus organizational chart. Remember that when you did your organizational chart and you've got the circle that you're the owner, and then there's two arms, and then you have the installation department, and then from you is the service department, and from you is the office manager, and then they have people. That's an organizational chart. But the octopus organizational shop is everybody reports to you. So there's you, and then there's these sticks going out to all these different employees. And how many people do you know? Right? Is that in the book? So how many people do you know they try to run their business like that because it's served them, but now they've outgrown that and they're driving themselves insane. That's a lot.
Yeah. I'll just show this real quick. It's just a chart that says everybody thinks the CEO is on top. Like the CEO's on top and they're just like the CEO is the boss of everyone. And he's above like the managers, the employees, and the customers, right? Well, that's not how most businesses operate. Most of them, it's like this. The CEO's on the bottom because he's trying to answer the customers, the employees, the managers. And so we have to flip this around and, the CEO should be on top and the boss. That means that below that is some managers or the office manager who deals with things like this. So it's every business. Like if you've been in business, you've dealt with that particular problem. Every single business owner has gone through this. Like if you haven't been in business very long, if you haven't gone through this particular situation.
Sure.
In my opinion, because it's going to happen. You're going to have customers that love you, that only want to deal with you. Maybe they want special deals and discounts or to be treated or to think that maybe it's status in their own lives. Like I deal with this. I deal with this company's owner, because, so I don't call the office. I call him personally. It could be any of those things, but the reality is that's not how the business has to operate. I always say this, Pete. I say would you, if you went to Target, I always pick on Target. I don't know why. If you went to Target, would you demand to talk to, like, you find something that's a discount on, it's supposed to be discounted. You go check out and you find out it's not discounted and you just didn't see the sticker right. Would you demand to talk to the CEO of Target? You can demand all you want, but it's not going to happen. So that's how I look at it. Like, eventually the business and I'm not saying that you have to be on some high horse or anything like that. It's just a case of, where does it end?
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
it's a really special feeling when you have a problem, it's legit, and the owner himself calls you and takes care of you. That's nice. But when you start to
Sure.
expect that, that's unrealistic. Um, in our chat, my response was similar to what you mentioned, and quite honestly, because I associated that experience that Bob had with one or two that I had had as a business owner, and I know how certain customers are very difficult. But that
Yeah.
said, a couple of the guys were coming back and said, what's the big deal? Call him back. Why are you avoiding him? Just call the guy, And another guy was like, I would refund his money. I have no problem refunding him, telling him to call somebody else. And
Yeah.
but to your point, what you said, there's not enough data there. There's not enough information there. Other guys are saying, yeah, I agree with this guy, so on and so forth. But I got to think, because my first response was this. I think maybe text him something like and it sounds like exactly what you said, Kelly. I'm very busy, and I have had to hire dozens of employees. As such, I can only take calls to my office. I also leave the priority of my calls to the discretion of my trusted inside team. Please call there and let them see what they can do for you. In other words, putting it back on the very people he's being rude to. And, but to one of these other guys, point, well, what if there's a reason? And then so I had this thought, and I think this is a really important caveat, Kelly. And I don't know if you've had this, because
Yeah.
you were really good, from what I understand, at building a culture of people that shared values, and you probably didn't have that person who was really nice to you and you thought they were really good, but when they were dealing with the customer, they weren't.
Oh, we definitely had people like that.
So the other thought, and I'm going to read. Sorry for reading, guys. It just because I won't remember it all. I responded to this. I said, let's see here. Bob, I was thinking that if your team gave him a lesser level of service before, and you came in and rescued and just took care of him, you might have unknowingly taught him that he needs to deal with you directly. The same is true when it comes to a price. The owner comes in and gives him a discount, all of a sudden he's going to want you. That might also explain his negativity with the office. As large as your company is, this is Bob, you need a team to relieve you of of as much of this as possible. But if they don't appear to care to the same level as you, I can see why, as John put it, that they would want to talk to the boss. Just an afterthought. So, yeah, sometimes as the owners, we assume it's the customer. Well, we believe our employees, and we jump on their side and defend them, but maybe our employees created the situation.
I think that's a smart way to look at it. I mean, it's keeping an open mind. It's not always the way you think it is till you find out more information.
So do you
Every
have
time, yeah. First thing I would do as the owner is before I would take a phone call like that, I would call the office. It's the same with reviews. If you get a negative review, it's our job, before we just respond and fly off the handle with emotions, to respond to a negative review or call a customer back who left us a negative review, we got to do our due diligence and find out what are all the what happened. I would talk to the office, and I would talk to the technician who was out there on a review. So for instance, with this, I would at least talk to the office before I responded to find out what happened when he did call the office.
So you call the office and you ask probing questions and you get a really good feel, and it probably puts this customer in a negative light. And so I had somebody else in our group respond, I think you should just call him back and have a come to Jesus conversation and let him know that we're happy to help you out, sir, but there's no place here for you to be rude to my people. So basically, this guy's suggestion was you put him in his place. But just like you called your staff and you ask all these probing questions so that you could get a good feel for it, your next responsibility is you're going to have to call that customer back, and you're going to have to listen to them. You're going to have to ask probing questions. Once you feel like you've gotten enough of an answer where you can compare the two, now you determine, do we have that come to Jesus conversation where, let me tell you something, bud, and I've done this. Let me tell you something, pal. I do not cuss my employees, and you damn sure aren't going to cuss them. I remember having just really going off on customers, but that's what they would do. You dumbass, this, and then call me up and say, oh, Mr. Ramsey, and they're playing this thing. And there's I have no respect for somebody who picks on somebody who can't defend themselves because of fear of losing their job, like a waiter or a waitress. You know what I'm saying? I have no use for that personally. And so that's a pet peeve of mine. But I think the short answer is we hate having our flow disrupted. You're out there in your field, and you're moving and everything, and then you've got this guy and he's calling. It's a pain in the rear. But what is life like on his side? Is he a difficult, bad apple, bad egg that needs to be eliminated from your fold, or maybe something happened? And if you just hear him out, I've done that before. I've jumped on a customer without hearing them out, only to I guess I owe you an apology, and that's no fun. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, most of these people are, I would assume, back to context, I would assume that this is not the first offense. He's a perpetual offender, is my guess, because we had this one particular guy who he owned a donut shop, and he would call in at night if at his house, I think maybe he had one rental house or something as well. If something quit working, he would call at night, and he was always under the influence, and he was always rude and just cussed out the service technicians. And we did our best to try to take care of him, but then it happened the first time, because once he sobers up, he would be very polite. But then it happened again. It was like over a weekend, he called in and was incredibly rude. And I think I wound up telling the technician, like, just screw it. We're not going out there. Something happened, or maybe we did go out there and he was still rude. I don't know. But we determined that we're no longer going to do business with him. We have the right to refuse service, and we're not going to provide service for you anymore. And so he showed up in my office. We were having a meeting at the shop with all the guys. He shows up and comes walking back. And I think I scared the bejesus out of him because I just walked right up to him. And he's like, what's going on? Like, I called you guys. I just said something to the effect of like, yeah, we're not going to be doing business with you anymore because you're being rude and obnoxious over the phone to my team. We don't have to put up with that. Well, I'm so sorry. I said, it doesn't matter. It's all good. We're done doing business with you. And I was very matter of fact and straight to the point. And he just tucked his tail between his legs and left. But I think we scared him because it was a whole group of guys that was, we stand up for each other, and we're not going to put up with that. So, but yeah, my guess is this guy's a repeat offender, and it's probably a conversation that should have happened earlier. But like I said, we don't know without more context. But
And right or wrong, they've always got Google reviews. And do they not abuse that or what? Have you not seen? Have you
yeah,
not had those? And you
oh
take
yeah,
you set them in, you put them in their place, and they come. I had a guy, and I mentioned this on a prior podcast, that was being a smartass in my group over on Facebook and saying stupid stuff. And I didn't say anything to him, but it wasn't the first time. And so I removed him, blocked him, and moved on. I mean, it wasn't personal. It just, we're trying to do something here. And he was being a little smartass. Well, he found this little review platform that I started. It was Europe based. That somebody had taught me into doing, just starting. And he goes in there and he literally just makes stuff up that I had called him back. I had cussed him out. I mean, you know me. I said the D word a little bit ago, and that was, which I'm old school Army, so I've dropped F bombs in my day just like everybody else. But you try to mature your way out of that. But anyway, he goes in accusing me of just being a nasty person, and made up a few other lies, and took my 5-star rating, down. And so I complained and said, look, this guy's not even a paying customer. He's just trying to be vindictive. And that particular platform says, well, you have to work your own reviews, and you have to deal with. I said, I don't have to deal with that. It's not a lie. So you know what? I'm off your program. You can't manage. You can't meet me halfway on this. I'm not. It's not. It wasn't Google, so it's not like the monopoly that those bastards have. And excuse me, now I dropped the B word. But Google, I absolute. There's that love-hate relationship. You love what they can do for you, but I've got a customer right now who's been suspended from Google Business because their system is so backwards that just because he rents a unit in a multi facility and there's another heating and air conditioning company with the same address but a different suite, they can't have two businesses of the same nature, and they suspend the guy. He's losing business right now because of,
yeah, that's horrible.
So anyway, I'm sorry to get on a tangent there, but the reviews is actually become weaponized. And so when we deal with these people, sometimes it's kind of like that email where you just write them a really nasty email and you tell them everything that you think, and you really sit down and you pour all of your emotions in. And right before you go to send it, you just hit delete. You'll feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody with feelings will get hurt, and the world will keep turning, and or the sun will keep rotating.
It's one of those things too that he's obviously, this guy who's in your mastermind, he's grown a company. And so since he's grown a company, a lot of times when we do grow the company, a lot of our original clients or long-standing clients who were used to the special service and the discounted pricing and once you start to understand and you get your pricing right and you start increasing the value that you provide to your clients, you will naturally make a progression into a higher level of client. But you will still have some of the people who hang on, for lack of a better word to say it. And that's great. Like, we'd love to see them hang on and continue to use our services, but there will come a point where if you have to raise your prices again because inflation or whatever, that if they ever get to a point where they feel like it's unreasonable, then it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with, I have to do what I have to do in my business to not only survive, but to make a profit so I can continue to grow. So there's always this weird transition when you're moving from that to this. For me, when I made that transition, thankfully, I kept a lot of those people as friends. They just stopped using me for business. So he could still be friends with this guy, but maybe we're not a good fit anymore now that my company has grown and I have to demand a certain price to be able to afford to continue to grow and earn a profit. So there's always these different stages in business. And I feel like maybe this might be one that was with them for quite some time and used to the personalized service. And it can't always be that.
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
Well,
it's just part of growth.
yeah. And the consumers as a group have learned the squeaky wheel gets the oil. What's the word for that? Routine, I guess.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they hold that back till they need it, but others lead with that. And it's just always, like this guy
Yes.
said, it's a huge problem, a huge issue, like he was saying. So they've learned to work that. I had a conversation with a customer today, and he was talking about how he would have this. Actually, that was not today. It was yesterday. He would have to go out and explain to this customer that they really needed to replace the system. Well, can you just fix it? He says, well, we can, but it's going to be X amount of dollars, and ultimately, you're probably it's going to fail. So it's just a matter of time. Well, do you mind just fixing it? And he says, so he goes through this thing to satisfy the customer. He fixes a system that really shouldn't be fixed, and so what he does is he says, "I tell you what I'm going to do. I got a feeling we're going to be back. What you've got towards this repair, if you replace this within the next 90 days, we'll go ahead and apply that towards the new system." So he's learned to do that, obviously, for obvious
Sure.
reasons. And sure enough, maybe another leak would spring up or whatever it was. And he said it's over and over and over. He says, but I've got to play the game. And so sometimes our experience teaches us the most efficient way to move through interactions with a customer. But because the customer has to be comfortable with this, we have to at least acknowledge their pain and their position, and as um as at least understandable at some level, even though you and I may think, man, that's the stupidest thing that obviously the customer doesn't know, blah, blah, blah. But we have to we can't let them lose face by attacking that. So that's kind of my thought on reaching out to those kind of people. We're going to have to understand the psychology of human nature, and you just can't you just can't bust them out and then expect the relationship to go back to lovey-dovey. We got to be very careful because we're dealing with human beings, and in their world, they're right and you're wrong. But you know how that works.
Yeah, it's just perspective. It's just perspective, but the worst thing you could do is to respond immediately or call somebody back immediately when your emotions are high. So always give time for those to calm down. I've had two clients just in the last couple of weeks have, one had his first less than 5-star review, which is going to hurt his rating. And, a whole bunch of people chimed in to help him respond to that. And what you were saying right there, I had a thought and then I forgot it. But you were saying the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and then when you were saying when you're talking about that customer who you do that one more favor for, we'll just charge it up this one more time, or we'll make this one, we'll go ahead and braise this hole one more time just to get you by. Well, that made me immediately think of the saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
Like on those old systems, like one of the mistakes that we made, and I advise against it, is you get to a really old system it does need a repair, and you immediately go to Miss Smith, this system needs to be replaced. I'm going to give you some options. You give them some options and they don't do anything. And then you leave. Well, somebody somewhere might go ahead and replace that old fan motor that's 26 years old, right? If it's not like the heart of the system that's dead. So I hate to walk away from those. If they want to pay $600-700 and replace this outdoor fan motor, then go ahead and give them the option. I would advise against it, but I wouldn't walk away from it either. You know what I'm saying? But there has to be in your invoice. Like, I would be very specific. The fan motor only has 1 year warranty. That's it. Any other problems that are outside of the fan motor will be a chargeable call. Maybe go out of your way to make sure to put that verbiage on your invoice. That way they understand, like, this system has all the rest of the parts are 26 years old also, or whatever you're dealing with. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of
too
like
many times I tried to help somebody who wanted to be cheap, and it just would bite me in the ass over and over again.
Yeah. And in their mind, you're just trying to sell them a new system. And, based on the age of the system, clearly you were trying to save them from throwing good money towards a bad system and having to replace all that. But in their mind, it was working fine until this one little thing. And then pickup truck Pete came in and fixed it for $400. First of all, Kelley wanted $600, fixed it for $400, and it is working perfect. And he puts that on the reviews, or he puts that out into his his circle of friends. And in reality, that's not the truth. The truth is that pickup truck Pete doesn't know his numbers, and he should be at $600 just like Kelley, but he's not, and he shouldn't be putting a brand new part on a 26-year-old system that's just going to be failing season after season after season, and these people are going to be paying through the nose. Not to mention what they're paying on higher utilities unnecessarily, and
yeah, absolutely. And future repairs, because it's going to continue to break down.
And that's an old technician mindset too, Kelley. I don't know if you were that way. I used to think, well, the boss wants to sell them a new unit, but I can fix that for $500.
Yeah, there was a time where I went through that. Absolutely.
Well, and then even listeners right now may be thinking that, but when you start to run the numbers and look at the different scenarios and what is not my cost today, but my cost over a long period, and versus in my investment rather, in my returns, and so what is my net out of pocket? And sometimes what seems like the right thing to do is the wrong thing to do, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, my boss, before I went out on my own, wanted to go to a flat rate pricing system, and I was very avid about I'm not ripping my customers off. I'm if you want to do that, like, I think it's the wrong thing to do. Like, and I just was against it. And well, then guess what? I took their pricing model when I started my business and started charging what they were charging, and it wasn't enough. So, like, it doesn't matter what the technician says if you have a team. Like, if you're the owner and things need to change and you need to raise prices, for instance, you have to do what you have to do. So in my situation, if the boss would have said, Kelley, look, we are not very profitable. We need to get more profitable. Here's what this is going to do to help you, to help me pay you more, to help you have more opportunity here at the company. We need to move to this flat rate pricing system. Like, if they would have, if it would have been approached that way, I would have been all ears. But so yeah, it's, here's the thing. If it's that old, at least you gave them options to replace. If you did your job. And then if you also gave them options to repair, you absolutely did your job. What more can you do? Right? Where the Chuck in a truck, or whatever you called him.
I said Pete in a pickup just because my name's Pete.
Pete in a pickup doesn't give options. They just literally just swapped out the the condenser fan motor for $400 and got on down the road.
Yeah.
And when it fails on a Saturday night because the run capacitor fails because he didn't check it, or the indoor blower run capacitor, let's say that goes out. Well, Pete in the pickup probably won't answer his phone. So there's all kinds of, you get what you pay for. There's another old saying. We're full of old sayings on this episode. So you get what you pay for.
Can I share something on the screen real quick?
Yeah.
This is, somebody posted this in the group, and it's incomplete, but it's kind of interesting. Repair versus replace. So this is a larger company. In fact, you know the owner of this company. I don't want to say it's, well, there it is at the bottom. You can tell who it is. So you know who that is. So in his market, you would repair if the system is less than 11 years old, but replace if it's older. And then, you know, they're looking at minor versus major repairs. If less than 50% of a new unit or still under warranty, whatever that means, cost of the repair. Okay. Versus the repair is more than 50% of the new unit. Well, 50%, I don't know where they got that number from. But I thought this was interesting. If the unit has this logo, Energy Star, you know, or if it doesn't, you need to replace it. But making something like this up becomes an educational piece for your team, and it becomes a tool that they can use when they're out there, because
absolutely,
your team is going to take what I now call the Kelley attitude. I'm not going to rip my customers off. And I'm picking on Kelley, but it's true. How are they going to know unless you educate them? Or how are you going to know if you're going to, this gets into mindset. This is Kelley's favorite subject. How are you going to know? I have a business owner right now that's very close to me. In fact, he's family. His lack of understanding is preventing him from being successful because he thinks he's taking advantage of his customers and he's hurting them, and he doesn't know. And I'm not saying that the information I just shared with you guys is good. This was just somebody just happened to share that. But did you have a tool like that back in when you had your business?
Oh no, we didn't have tools like that. I
Liar.
No, we didn't. We never had tools like, I mean, like when I had my business, yes, because you can find those tools very easily online. So, and that was towards the later years of my business, but all through the beginning years, no, we didn't have any kind of tool like that. Any type of educational piece other than the old saying like that I was taught, because this is what I've learned not only through my business, but you know, my continued education to continue to learn the way our businesses operate. But all of the information on how to run service calls has been passed down from generation to generation or for decades. Technician to technician. Those technicians go start a business. So then it's the business passes on the same horrible service that we provide to people. I know that's like, somebody might be mad when they hear that. I don't provide horrible service. I'm here to tell you 99% of all businesses provide shameful service to our customers. So when you learn to do a better job on every service call and increase the value that you provide for the customer, people just throw that word value around all the time. And I'm not trying to be one of those people, but I'm saying that you can do a better job. You can be more thorough. All the training, the tech training that you get, you're using a fraction of it when you pull up to a service call and you replace a run cap, charge your $250, $350, $450, $650, whatever. You get back in your truck and run to the next call. You've done a disservice to the customer, for the customer. There are multiple problems on every single service call you go to. If you do your job and you're a professional, you will find those problems and at least bring them to the customer's attention. Whether they want to do anything or not, I don't care. At least you did your job.
Sure.
So, but when it comes to, so one of the things that I would share with what you were sharing the family member, is that it's not just about your pricing. It's not. It's about how much service they actually need. Because a lot of times they need way more service than the service that you're offering, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So the service you're offering may be you have this system that's been running for the last 3 years, has not been maintained. It's not working right. It has not been working right. And then it fails. And then we come out and we replace a part and get this system running again, and it's still not working right because it hasn't been working right for years. Even if you did wash the condenser, there's still other things on there that probably need to be upgraded or evaluated, and probably need to discuss some options with the customer. So if we're not doing that, then we're just doing a disservice. And I get it. We want to run to the next service call. I completely get that. But did you sell them a maintenance agreement? At least you can come back when you do have more time and do a good job, right? So if I at least find a couple of different things that probably need to be, or at least ask some questions to the customer, how about that idea? Ask some questions and find out what they need or what they desire or what they would like to see happen with their system. We find out a lot more information from them, because otherwise we're just guessing. We don't know. We don't know that Susan, their 12-year-old daughter, is on all kinds of allergy medications and can't sleep at night. You would never know that. They're not just going to share that information with you if you don't ask the question, who in the home suffers from allergies? So you have to have conversations with people, period. And if you can't do that as a technician, you probably shouldn't be a technician. Sorry. Because I feel like you're not doing your job. Just like a doctor has to ask you questions and take your temperature and take your weight and take your blood pressure and ask you questions. We have to do the same. We have to do all of those things to the system and ask questions to find out what's really the problem or what would they like to see happen. So I've got like a whole training on getting people over this money hump, because it's something that I struggled with for many years. And so how it made sense to me is how I train it and teach it. And I know it makes sense to people. So if you're running calls day and night, you aren't getting ahead, it's one of two things. Your price is too low, or you're not charging it, or like I said, price is not the only thing. You can raise your price and you can charge $500 for a run capacitor, which is ridiculous. Or you can do a thorough job and find that there's 3 other parts that probably need to be upgraded, or some other thing that they may need and may really appreciate. If you take the time to ask a couple of questions, present some options, and what do you know? It's not even selling. You don't even have to sell it. So you can charge X amount, or you can do a better job and find what it is that that's going to make the customer happy and make the system more safe, reliable, efficient, or comfortable. And if you do that, all of a sudden your tickets are going to go from 200 to 400, from 400 to 800, from 800 to 1500, just by doing a better job. And at the end of the week, when you add up all of those calls you ran, you can run 8 calls a day at $250 average, and whatever that comes out to, where I'm going to run 4 calls a day. I'm going to get home at a decent time. All of my customers are going to be served at a much higher level than what you're doing. And my tickets are going to be $800 average or $1,200 average. I'm going to make 2 to 3 times the money that the person who's flying from call to call to call is making. Does that mean I can't get to everybody? Maybe I need to hire more technicians and teach them the same thing. And then we can start actually getting everybody in the industry providing a good service. Not this run and gun crap all day long, every day. Leaving innocent customers who are not educated, when it comes to how their system should operate, or how below the minimum standards are that it's designed to operate, that their system actually is operating, if we would stop doing that and just do the right thing. I'm just all about doing the right thing. Do the right thing, and it's going to work out in your favor. So if you get your price right and you expand the value that you give to your customer by asking questions and offering more options that might suit them and their needs, naturally, what happens is you're going to get more people who are going to say, how much for a new one? How much for a new one? Or they may just take your top option that you just offered at $3,600. And now all of a sudden your average invoices for the day just went up to $2,800 by the end of the day, instead of walking away with $250 and screwing your customers over. Yeah. Like I'm pretty harsh about this. And it even guys that are crushing it in my coaching group, they're fully aware that this is still happening in their business and they're still crushing it. But don't let that just because you're winning, don't rest on your laurels here. How can we bring everybody up to speed and get everybody doing a better job on every single call? So I'll stop. There's my rant.
Oh man, he was on fire. We are coming to wind down time, but with where you went into it, this gets into a lot of mindset. So we started talking about the customer who is difficult, and then we're starting to talk about the customer who is easily influenced and how the technician ultimately feels the pressure of that. And a lot of us just default to, I need to I need to save that customer as much money as possible. That's my job. That's not your job, because they don't share your values. They don't see the pricing. They don't see $100 the same way that you do. Maybe it's more valuable to them. Maybe it's less valuable. In most cases, when you're dealing with high-end customers, they don't care about $100. They don't care about $1,000. What they care about is, am I making a wise decision? And so what I was thinking about as you were saying that, I think fundamentally is you can't be indifferent. Look, this is what's broke. You can fix it. You can place it. I don't care. What do you want to do? They need you, and they're lean. They're emotionally they're asking you for guidance. Where you're going to make a mistake is when you step in and try to make the decision for them. That's not what they're asking for. They're asking you to explain what the options are, even though they don't know how to word this, and what that means to them. What is that? What would happen if we just left it as at this minimal level versus if we did a mid-grade solution versus if we went all the way and replaced it? What are the different potential scenarios? As a technician, you say, well, I'm not a mind reader. I can tell you what my experience is. And if we do the minimum fix, it will be running. But you're still going to have a 26-year-old system, or you're still going to have even a 12-year-old system. You're still going to have these other situations. And there's still some components on this system, you refer to that too, Kelly, that are not new, and they are starting to show wear. You could certainly upgrade all of that, all the ones that you can. You don't want to change all the parts on the system necessarily, but there are the most common ones that wear out. You could do it. You could do a bit of a refresh, if you will, in the system. And so kind of thinking those things out and playing those scenarios out ahead of time as a team, with you and your technicians or your team, and playing the scenarios out and doing the devil's advocate and everything else will prepare you so that when your customer's leaning on you and asking you for, basically they're not asking you to make this decision for me. They're asking you, well, what do you think? Well, what would you do? What would you do is their way of, sneaking past your, what are you trying to tell me to do? Because I don't trust you. You're going to try to sell me something. So what do you do? What system do you have in your house? That kind of stuff. So, but fundamentally, when you have their trust, you can tell them, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's not my job. But what I can do with confidence is explain to you what's going on, what kind of an impact that's having on the system, and the different options that you have, and more than likely what those options would mean. And I think a really big mental hurdle, if you'll clear, get your pricing all done, locked in writing, remove that from your thinking, and just talk about solutions. How much does it cost?
Yeah.
I don't know what it costs. What we're talking about is a solution.
Yeah. What I say is get out of your head and into your heart. And what I mean by that is a lot of people that are already in the heating and air conditioning industry have hearts of gold, and they have hearts that are full of service. We want to help people. And I love that about our industry.
Yeah, we've got some good people out there.
If you really want to help people, then you would do a thorough job on their call, and you would talk about everything that Pete just said. Like you would explain their options. You explain the maybe the benefits, but also the consequences if they don't choose to do something, just so they have all the options out on the table. It's just a conversation. We don't have to sell anything. It's simply a conversation. And then you let them decide what they want to do. But I always use a doctor analogy. I know I've said it maybe on here before, but I'll say it again. The doctor doesn't care how much money you have. If he's got a bad diagnosis, he's not worried about how you're going to pay the bill if you need surgery. He has to be a professional and give you the diagnosis. You, as a customer of the doctor, can still say, no, thanks, doc. I'll take my chances.
Yeah.
Or you can listen to his professional advice and go the way that he's directing you to go.
If you're a technician, stay in technician mode. Don't get in pricing mode. There's just that's not even part of the Just focus on what the options are as if money is not an issue, because you don't know if it is or not.
No, you don't.
And your doctor's analysis is perfect. If you need heart surgery and it's $100,000 and you're like, well, you know what we could do, you know.
If you need it, if you truly need it.
Exactly. I mean, what are you going to do?
What would you do, doctor?
Yeah, take an aspirin, cross your fingers. I mean, you know.
He's going to say, I'd get the surgery. He's going to, you know, you're going to live longer if you get this done. So you're probably going to go ahead and get that done. But
so the bottom line, dealing with customers is very easy, right, Kelley?
When it comes to service situation, yes, because you're just there. You're just there to educate.
Yeah.
Educate them. You evaluate the system using all your tech, you know, being that super tech that you are, which we love to do. So be a super tech, but then you're going to have to, everything you find, make a list and present that to the customer and let them know, here's what our options are. Here's what we need to do. Like I say, also with the doctor analogy, the doctor doesn't come in and say, Kelley, your blood pressure's through the roof. Like you might have a heart attack later, but I tell you what, just go home and just see how you feel.
Elevate your feet.
Call me if you don't feel better tomorrow. They don't say that. They're going to be like, you're about to have a heart attack. I'm calling the ambulance. We got to get you to the emergency room. Yeah. Like they just tell you what to do because they're the authority in that position. Well, we are an authority in our position. It doesn't mean the customer can't still say, no, thanks, Kelley. I don't want that. They can 100% say that. That's their prerogative. That's their choice. But at the same time, I feel like we don't put enough emphasis or urgency in sometimes really dire situations with equipment. When we know better, we know that the system's going to quit. We know that outdoor fan motor is not going to last.
Exactly.
But we just act like, well, just call me if it gives you any trouble. Well, I mean, it's going to give them trouble. If you know it, and you know it's going to give them trouble, well, then let's just say it. Let's just say, I can't in good faith, like leave this thing the way it is. It's going to quit on you eventually. It's squealing. I know it's not pulling high amps, and the bearings feel tight, but something's not right. We need to get this taken care of. I don't want you having to call me at 10 o'clock at night. I don't want you to have to go through that and have some sleepless nights if I can't get there right away, because we're really busy. Let's go ahead and get this repaired today. Like, just have a little certainty, have a little confidence in what you're doing. And, but once again, I'm not selling. I'm just giving my professional opinion.
Yes,
So that's
you
my
are.
2 cents on it. If you don't want to take it, I'm cool either way. We can go ahead and do this today, or you can wait. But
Yeah.
I look
Yeah.
at systems all day long. I'm a professional. Let's get this done.
Yep.
Just having that type of conversation.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
I agree. Well, Kelley, awesome job. I want to talk to you as soon as we hang up here, but I do have to cut it short. I've got a meeting right after this, but what a great job.
Good.
It's really good to be back with
Thanks,
you,
Pete.
and
Thanks
your
for having me
insights are
back.
always so good.
Getting back together here.
Yeah, and I can't wait to read your book. And hopefully you guys, if you've listened this far, you'll pick up your own copy. It's not that much money. It's there on Amazon, but we need all the help we can get, guys. The mindset's really important. But as always, on behalf of Kelley, P. Ramsey here, you guys keep those vans between the ditches. Be careful out there, and go make that money. We'll see you on the next one.
Go make money, guys. Thanks, Pete.
Hey, it's Pete. A quick thank you for joining me today on HVAC Greatness, or maybe just letting me keep you company as you're out running about. Either way, I sincerely hope that you picked up on something today that might help you and your business progress on your journey to HVAC Greatness. Want more? Make sure we stay on the air. Share the podcast with a friend. Rate and review it. And be sure to subscribe to our email list at hvacgreatness.com so that you don't miss anything. This is Pete Ramsey signing out and reminding you why your customers love your business and what makes your company great. In one word, you. So let's keep refining your already good image and make it truly great.